class, let us discuss the third module given to you for bridge course and which deals with biological classification. And before going with classification, first we have to know the word taxonomy, which is very important in biology. So taxonomy is the combination of two words, taxis means arrangement, so taxonomy is the combination of two words, that is taxis means arrangement, nomus means according to a law in the sense based on some rules. So simply speaking, what is taxonomy? It is the systematic arrangement of all the living organisms. Today we know that on the planet Earth, life starts from the simplest prokaryotic cell, that is bacteria, and it extends up to the most complex organisms, that is we humans. So with this it is very clear, life forms in terms of their structure, size, habit, habitat, behavior, based on all these things, living forms or the life existing on the planet Earth is showing a great diversity, and for the better understanding of this diversity existing on the planet Earth, we must classify them and we must arrange them systematically. So the systematic arrangement of the living organisms can be done by a branch of biology which is called taxonomy. So if you ask me strictly what is taxonomy, it is the branch of biology which deals with identification, naming and classification of organisms. So if you want to better understand the variety of life forms which are present on the planet Earth, and today the taxonomists are discovering many new species of plants, many new species of animals every day. So as biodiversity, number of species of plants and animals which are discovered and recorded are increasing day by day. For better understanding, based on their characters, we have to classify them systematically. We have to arrange them systematically in the taxonomic hierarchy. All these things are possible with the existence of branch of biology called taxonomy. So taxonomy is the branch of biology. It deals with what? It deals with identification, naming and classification of organisms. So here students should remember, A.P. Candolle coined the term taxonomy. The term taxonomy was coined by A.P. Candolle. It is the combination of two words, that is taxis means arrangement, nomus means law. So systematic arrangement of organisms according to some rules or according to some law is called taxonomy. Taxonomy always deals with what? Identification, naming and classification of organisms. And here our topic is importantly deals with classification, I said. And what is the need for classification? Simple. Classification makes our study of life easy, because why we need to classify the things? To make better understanding of all the living forms existing on the planet Earth, classifying them according to their characters like morphology, anatomy, physiology, etc. It becomes essential. So if you ask me simply, what is the need and why we have to classify the things? So I can tell you a simplest example. You can go to, if you are going to a provision store, and in a provision store you ask that person, so give me half a kg of sugar, and direct the shopkeeper goes to the bag where sugar is present and he takes the sugar and weighs it and gives you. and shopkeeper do not search his entire shop where sugar is, because even in that simple provision store also, that shopkeeper following a system of classification, means shopkeeper do not keep like sugar and washing powder together, and shopkeeper do not keep some soaps and sugar together. So all the soaps are kept at one place, all the cosmetics are kept in one place, all the other groceries like sugar, pulses, etc. are kept in another place. So in that shop itself, if you consider that shop as a system, and in that shop only shopkeeper following a system of classification, which makes his work so easy. That's why in terms of biology also, as life is existing in variety of forms and lots of diversity is existing among the life forms, for better understanding of all the life forms present on the planet Earth, what we have to do? We must classify the total life, so that study of life forms on the planet Earth becomes easy. That is the need for classification. Okay? And along with this classification, when a new organism is identified, let it be a plant or animal, and to avoid the confusions, we have to give a distinct scientific name to that newly identified organism, and we call it as nomenclature. So what is nomenclature? Once again we have a definition for this. What is nomenclature? The practice of giving distinct scientific name to an organism. So this practice of giving distinct scientific name to an organism is called nomenclature. And why we have to give distinct scientific name to an organism? Again, to avoid the confusions, isn't it? So if we simply think, for example, dog. In English we call it dog, and in Hindi people call it as kutta, and in Telugu people call it as kukka, and in Kannada you call it as nai. And if Kannadiga goes to some northern state, and if you say nai, nobody will understand there, and it leads to confusion there. So to avoid this confusion, throughout the world, for dog, there should be a distinct name and which should be a scientific name. That same name must be practiced in the every corner of the world, so that you can avoid the confusion. Hope you understand what is the need of nomenclature. So nomenclature can be defined as practice of giving distinct scientific name to an organism is called nomenclature. Why we have to give distinct scientific name to every organism? To avoid the confusion, because in different languages different organisms are called with different names, but for a particular organism throughout the world some particular biological name should be present. That practice is called nomenclature. So today in the field of biology, the system of nomenclature followed is binomial nomenclature. So throughout the world, in the field of taxonomy, what type of nomenclature system are we following? We are following the system of nomenclature which is called binomial nomenclature, and this system was given by Carolus Linnaeus. So who proposed binomial system of nomenclature? Answer should be Carolus Linnaeus. And I want students remember, Carolus Linnaeus is popularly known as father of taxonomy. So who is popularly called father of taxonomy? Answer should be Carolus Linnaeus. Who coined the term taxonomy? A.P. de Candolle coined the term taxonomy. Same Carolus Linnaeus has proposed a system of nomenclature called binomial nomenclature. So what is this binomial nomenclature? So it is giving distinct scientific name to organism is called nomenclature, and that name should contain two names in it or two words in it, and such name is called binomen. Name itself indicates a biological name or a scientific name having two words or two names in it is called binomen, and that practice of nomenclature is called binomial nomenclature. So when we look into this biological name, see, it is the scientific name or biological name of human. So scientific name of human is Homo sapiens. So throughout the world, in every corner of the world, scientific or biological name of the human practiced today is Homo sapiens. You can see this is the biological name of human. In this name, how many names are present again? Two names are present, or the two words are present. That's why we call it as what? Binomial. And students should remember, in binomial nomenclature, first word always represents genus name. In binomial nomenclature, the first name or the first word always represents what? Genus name. And second word always represents species name. So we the humans belong to genus Homo and we belong to the species sapiens. And such word or such name having two words in it or two names in it is called binomial. And this practice of nomenclature is called binomial nomenclature, and it is proposed by whom? Carolus Linnaeus. And students also should remember, Carolus Linnaeus is popularly known as what? Father of taxonomy. Okay? And one more point you have to remember, in binomial nomenclature, genus name always should start with a capital letter. That's why you see I have written in Homo, only H I have written capital, remaining all small letters. Whenever we write biological name of an organism, what rule we have to follow? First word should represent genus name, and in the genus name, first letter always should be capital. And second word represents what? Species name, and in species name always should start with a small letter. And both the names or both the words should be underlined separately. Understand? So these are the important rules about binomial nomenclature you have to remember. Tell me, what is binomial nomenclature? A system of giving names or a practice of giving names to organisms in which every biological name contains two names in it. First name always represents genus name. Second name represents species name. Genus name must start with the capital letter, species name must start with the small letter, and both the names should be underlined separately. It was the idea of whom? Carolus Linnaeus. Now let us understand what are the various systems of classification present in biology. So the systems of classification, so here I have written 2 kingdom classification, 3 kingdom classification, 4 kingdom and 5 kingdom classification. So in the field of biology, the present system of classification followed is called 5 kingdom classification. But before going with 5 kingdom classification, when the total living organisms or the life forms were classified, it started with the idea of whom once again? Carolus Linnaeus. So Linnaeus has proposed 2 kingdom classification. According to him, he classified the entire living world into only 2 kingdoms, that is Plantae and Animalia, because at the time of Linnaeus there was no much advanced microscopes and people were not knowing the difference between unicellular, multicellular organisms and all. So that's why the total life which is present on the planet was classified into only 2 kingdoms, namely what? Plantae and Animalia. Name itself indicates. All the plants were included in the kingdom Plantae and all the animals were included in the kingdom Animalia. As total life is classified into only 2 kingdoms, it is called 2 kingdom classification. Later, next system of classification came into existence is 3 kingdom classification, and 3 kingdom classification was given by Ernst Haeckel. Okay, so according to Haeckel, already 2 kingdoms were existing, right? What were they? Plantae and Animalia, and he added one more kingdom, that is Protista. The third kingdom added to the existing two kingdoms, that is Plantae and Animalia is Protista, and all unicellular eukaryotic organisms, irrespective, they may be of plant nature or animal nature, but their entire body should be made up of single cell and they should have a distinct nucleus. So all the unicellular eukaryotes are included in a kingdom called Protista. So now total life which is existing on the planet is classified into how many kingdoms now? 3 kingdoms. Which are the 3 kingdoms? Plantae, Animalia and Protista. So next one more kingdom was added. Because of that 4 kingdom classification came into existence, and 4 kingdom classification was given by Copeland, and Copeland added one more kingdom, that is Monera. So due to advancement in the microscopy, by this time we came to know that prokaryotic cells are different and eukaryotic cells are different. So Protista is the kingdom of what I said, unicellular eukaryotes. Now the 4th kingdom is added to the existing 3 kingdoms, that is Monera. So Monera is the kingdom of unicellular prokaryotes, like all the eubacteria and archaebacteria. So simply speaking, bacterial cells are the examples for prokaryotic cells, you know. So all the bacterial cells are included in the kingdom Monera, because Monera is the kingdom of what? Unicellular prokaryotes. So this is how the total life forms present on the planet Earth, according to Copeland, classified into how many kingdoms? 4 kingdoms. Which are they? Plantae, Animalia, Protista and Monera. But the present system of classification which we are following, it is called 5 kingdom classification. So every student should remember, in the field of biology throughout the world, the present system of classification which we are following is called 5 kingdom classification. It was given by R.H. Whittaker. So in the year 1969, Robert H. Whittaker has proposed 5 kingdom classification. So already 4 kingdoms are existing. Which are they? Plantae, Animalia, Protista and Monera. And which kingdom is added? The 5th kingdom added was fungi. So otherwise it is called mycota. Okay, so the 5th kingdom added is fungi. So fungi kingdom is also called mycota. So simply if you ask me what are fungi, most of the fungi except yeast are the example for unicellular fungi. Except yeast, almost all fungi are multicellular and they perform the function of decomposition. Okay, so the multicellular decomposers are added in the kingdom mycota, which is otherwise called fungi. So with this it is very clear. In R.H. Whittaker's 5 kingdom classification, what are the 5 kingdoms existing till we now? Plantae. So all the green plants, all the chlorophyll containing plants which can perform photosynthesis are included in Plantae. So that's why Plantae is the kingdom of multicellular autotrophs, isn't it? Because all the plants, their bodies are made up of millions of cells and they can synthesize their own food because they can perform the function of photosynthesis. So that's why students should remember. What are plants? Plantae is the kingdom of multicellular autotrophs. Plantae is also called metaphyta, phyton. Actually we use the word protozoans and metazoans. Protozoans means unicellular, metazoans means multicellular. So that's why you see multicellular. Phyton means plant. So kingdom Plantae is got other name. What is that other name for Plantae? It is also called metaphyta. Next, Animalia. So what are animals? If you ask me, my answer is like this. They are multicellular heterotrophs, you know, except protozoans starting from porifera to mammals, All the animals are multicellular and they cannot synthesize their own food. They are dependent on other organisms for their nutritional requirements. That's why they are called heterotrophs. Okay, so Animalia is also called metazoa because plantae is also called metaphyta because phyton means plant, zoon means animal. So Animalia is got other name, that is metazoa. So students should remember like this. Kingdom Plantae includes all the multicellular autotrophs. They are nothing but plants. Plantae is also called metaphyta. Kingdom Animalia includes multicellular heterotrophs. They are nothing but animals. Animalia is also called metazoa, and I already told you protista. Protista is the kingdom of what I said? Unicellular eukaryotes. You know, their entire body should be made up of single cell, and they must possess a true nucleus or a distinct nucleus, that is, nuclear material should be covered by nuclear membrane. So protista is the kingdom of unicellular eukaryotes. We can consider today we have unicellular algae, like protozoans are unicellular eukaryotes. Best example for protista, protozoans, because they are the unicellular eukaryotes. Okay, next Monera. Monera is the kingdom of unicellular prokaryotes. Okay, so Monera is the kingdom of unicellular prokaryotes. Their entire body should be made up of single cell, but they must not possess a distinct nucleus. Means nuclear membrane should be absent. So bacterial cells are the best example for kingdom Monera, because Monera is the kingdom of unicellular prokaryotes. Okay, and finally fungi, which is otherwise called mycota, because study of fungi is called mycology. So a study of fungi is called mycology. You can easily remember fungi is also called mycota, and simply students should remember mycota is the kingdom of multicellular decomposers, because most of the fungi are present in the soil. Along with some bacteria, they decompose the dead remains of plants and animals, which play a crucial role in the nutrient cycling. So that's why most of the fungi, according to their habit, they fall under the category of decomposers, and mostly they are multicellular in nature. So that's why fungi or mycota is the kingdom of multicellular decomposers. So like this, students should remember. The present system of classification which we are following is 5 kingdom classification. 5 kingdom system of classification was given by whom? R.H. Whittaker. According to R.H. Whittaker, the total life present on the planet Earth, now it is classified into how many kingdoms? 5 kingdoms. Which are they? Plantae, Animalia, Protista, Monera and fungi. Okay, so because I have taken this order, as I have started with what? 2 kingdom classification, which was the idea of Linnaeus. Linnaeus classified total living organisms into just 2 kingdoms. Which are they? Plantae and Animalia. What is other name for plantae? Metaphyta. Animalia is also called metazoa. Later, Ernst Haeckel added 3rd kingdom. What was the 3rd kingdom added? Protista. Now the total living organisms classified into 3 kingdoms. Which are they? Plantae, Animalia and Protista. Next, Copeland added 1 more kingdom, that is Monera. And finally, the present system of classification in biology which we are following throughout the world was given by R.H. Whittaker. It is popularly called the 5 kingdom classification. What are the 5 kingdoms? Plantae. What is Plantae? Kingdom of multicellular autotrophs. Second, Animalia. What is Animalia? It is the kingdom of multicellular heterotrophs. And Protista is the kingdom of unicellular eukaryotes. Monera is the kingdom of unicellular prokaryotes. Finally, fungi or mycota is the kingdom of multicellular decomposers. Okay? And finally, what is the basis or what is the criteria for RH Whittaker's 5 kingdom classification. So students should remember cellular structure, cellular complexity, and mode of nutrition. The three important criteria for RH Whittaker's 5 kingdom classification, that is cellular structure, cellular complexity, and mode of nutrition. You can see here cellular structure. What does it mean? Whether cell is prokaryotic or eukaryotic. Next, cellular complexity means whether it is unicellular or multicellular. Next, mode of nutrition. Here you see whether they are autotrophs or heterotrophs. Otherwise, one more criteria, they are decomposers. Based on the mode of nutrition, decomposers are called saprotrophs, like this. Based on mode of nutrition, organisms can be autotrophs, heterotrophs or saprotrophs. So, the three important criteria for Whittaker's 5 kingdom classification is cellular structure, cellular complexity, and mode of nutrition. Okay, so let me repeat what we have discussed in today's class. So today importantly I have concentrated on a branch of biology called taxonomy. So what is taxonomy? Branch of biology which deals with identification, naming and classification of organisms. Who coined the term taxonomy? A.P. de Candolle. Who is the father of taxonomy? Carolus Linnaeus. Once a new organism is identified, it must be given a distinct scientific name to avoid the confusions throughout the world. And the practice of giving distinct scientific name to an organism is called nomenclature. And throughout the world, the present system of nomenclature practiced is binomial nomenclature. Binomial nomenclature is the idea of whom once again? Carolus Linnaeus. What do you mean by binomial nomenclature? Practice of giving distinct scientific names to organisms, and in each biological name or scientific name, two names should be present. The first name always represents genus name, second name represents species name. Genus name should start with the capital letter, species name should start with the small letter, and both the names must be underlined separately. After identification and naming, according to taxonomical hierarchy, every organism should be given a systematic position. That practice is called classification. So classification creates order in disorder. Understand? Because life is not so simple. Life is exhibiting lots of diversity in terms of structure, size, habit, habitat. Life is in disorder, and this we can create order in disorder by practicing classification. So finally, in the field of biology, we are following which system of classification? 5 kingdom system of classification. It was the idea of whom? RH Whittaker. What are the three important criteria for classification or 5 kingdom system? Cellular structure, cellular complexity, and mode of nutrition. Hope you understand. Thank you.